I'm Allaster Cox. I'm head of Southeast Asia Maritime Division in the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and the department is very happy again to be associated with the Indonesia update and to have the opportunity to sponsor this tremendous forum every year. And it's my very great pleasure to host this final session of the day with the largest number of speakers. So I'm going to have to be particularly conscious of the time with a number of speakers and such a big agenda on gender equality and social policies during the period of the SBY presidency. Today we've got some tremendous speakers from Indonesia, a very strong lineup of colleagues from Indonesia to speak with us today. Ibu Melani Budianta and Kamala Chandrakirana, and also Andi Yentriyani, all very much involved in the Reformasi movement in 1998. Melani is a Professor of Literary and Cultural Studies at UI, and Kamala is head of Komnas Perempuan, the National Commission on Violence Against Women, and now a member of the United Nations Working Group on Discrimination Against Women in Law and Practice. And Andi Yentriyani is also a commissioner with Komnas Perempuan. The Australian government has long been a supporter of Komnas Perempuan, and it's very good that we can hear from them today. So without further ado, I'll introduce Melani and we'll get underway, and then subsequently on social policies, Bapak Faisal Basri and Dinna Wisnu will join us, and we'll do them in the second part of this session. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Excuse me for being a bit short, so I have to stand up here. All right. So on behalf of my colleagues, I will be speaking on SBY's politics and the implication on gender inequality in Indonesia. Right. I will start by sharing with you a poem by Linda Jalil. She used to be a stout defender of SBY, but in 2012, she wrote in her blog a poem expressing, if you can read in Bahasa Indonesia, I will not read it for you. First of all, her disappointment in SBY, and secondly, her eagerness for SBY to resign as soon as possible. Right? So why is it that this president who is popular amongst women, who, according to Saiful Muljani, owes it to the women to win his 2 terms, got women to be disappointed with him in the end of his presidency in this term? Well, even up to the 2nd term, hopes were still high amongst women. This is a photo of President Yudhoyono, actually in the anniversary of Komnas Perempuan. And then he delivered his promises at that time, right? Practical steps toward protection, empowerment, and promotion of women. And then some rupiahs, trillion of rupiahs for women-led micro-enterprises. And then 5 women ministers, and he delivered it. And I think my Australian colleague, Richard, he is here. He said that Australian could not complain about this, right? Right? And increase of women political participation, gender-friendly legislation, and stopping violence against women. Now, my paper will look at these promises and whether he delivers or not, and I think you know the answer. And why he didn't deliver, I think my previous presentation, already explained it to you, so it's very lucky that I come in the final session. Right, so first, against Ibu Dewi Fortuna Anwar's warning that we should not do media too much media. I will use this as a, the public sentiment feeling, you know. There's a structure of feeling in the early 2012. Not only women are disappointed, but the overall population felt that we are in an autopilot country. So who is ruling? You know, nobody is ruling. We are doing it on our own, right? So why is it? Now we go to the first promise about political participation. Women's political participation. It's actually before, even a long time ago, actually women activists have been lobbying for quota, a 30% quota. And it is successful, it is adopted, but there is always a case in which a political party puts the women on the bottom list. So in order to deal with it, women activists actually lobby for what is called zipper system, in which if you nominate 3, one of the 3 should be a woman, right? But what happened, you know? In 2004, 2009, actually, we got a lot of women candidates but 80% is recruited. But now, today, 2013, 37% has actually become a candidate, but only 40% of the candidates are recruited. So it's actually not an increase, but a drop of political participation. So it's obvious that SBY didn't deliver its promise of increasing political participation. Why is it? Is it the fault of SBY, or is it because of the general male-biased in the political system? Well, we see here the strategy that political party did during the last parliamentary election. All right, they put 1 amongst 3, but the bottom, women is always the bottom of the 3. 3, 6, 9, 12. You know, it's all listed. And sometimes they duplicate the name, the same name, but they put it as a candidate in different regions. So duplication of names. And then, of course, it's a dynastic politics. One dual candidate, representative, male representative, and then the mother, the wife, the niece, all the connection, right? And using this is, of course, male and female celebrities, including Oma Irama, etc., right? Right. And this remark, the homophobic remark, shows the condition of the political party in Indonesia, right? Very homophobic. What should we do if women are not interested in entering political? Do you think we need to recruit transsexual? This is very homophobic remark, and it shows there's no real commitment from the political party, and also no real awareness about gender, sensitivity, etc. So this is what we are having. And is it the fault of SBY? We will talk about it later. Well, also some kind of backlash, kind of a regression is that we saw some very good women candidates that are not re-elected. And instead, we saw this region was sacked because of sexual harassment. He was instead elected. So this was really, really, what is it? Why is it? And I think previously we have discussed about this open list proportional system and money politics. It's very hard for women to compete to find. And the political party, within its party, they are for themselves. They don't struggle to help the women, but they compete with each other. So I will show you the women. These are some of the, it's interesting that the Democratic Party actually had many women candidates, right? But unfortunately, as they are in, KPK found out that they have a lot of, corruption. Many of these women, including this one in the middle, this, what is her name? Angelina Sonda. was convicted as as a corrupt politician. So on the whole, we see the dynastic politics with women, but also the network of families. Like this is the Ratu Atut, the last one convicted by KPK, a governor of Banten, who's with all the family network as a dynasty in Banten, right? So this kind of dynasty politics, and SBY, we expect that he would reform party politics, but actually we also see the tendency that he will appoint his wife or his son, you know. So there is no actually reform in the political party. Then this is the biggest challenge. Now what about women's well-being? MDG is one of his promise, right? And of course we enjoy economic, as we discussed in the economic sector in the morning, a lot of economic growth. But the gender gap, Indonesian actually dropped its ranking from the 90th to 95th in the sort of gender gap. And the reports show that women and minority are most marginalized, are the ones who are prone to be the marginal one in this economic disparity. And look at MMR, maternal mortality rates. The target is 102 out of that 100,000 cases, births, yeah? But what happened is, it's actually tripled. It's 359, so it's worse than in 1999, even 1995 even, right? So it really dropped very, it's really worsened compared to even in the New Order period. So what happened? Why? Now, one issue is what is it called by Yulia Suryakusuma as legal Islamization, right? Violence against women, criminalization of women's body based on religion. This is, we saw a lot of this legislation coming. This is the number, 279 discriminatory policy, primarily against women. Women's code, and then criminalizes on pornography and porno action, and then policy segregating the public space. I will tell you two stories. It's numbers, but there's a real story. A girl named Putri was convicted in 2012, detained by the police in Tangerang. She is a teenager, and she went home after a musical concert. She was caught because she was considered breaking the curfew in Aceh. In Aceh, Putri is in Aceh. She was convicted. She was detained by the police, and she committed suicide because of the pressure. Right. Another person is Lilis. Is in 2005. She is in Tangerang, not far from Jakarta. She's pregnant. She worked in a restaurant and she went home late because of her shift. She was waiting for a bus and she was detained by the police for 3 days. After she was released, she went through depression and she died. These are the two cases that showed how the legislating women body and the well-being of women, and how connected it is. In the districts, with the conservative legislation, women are not supposed to be treated by male doctors. And in the remote region, when there is no female doctor, what happened with pregnant women? So this showed how serious the case is with this legislation. And we talk about gender budgeting. Is this, what is it called, gender budgeting? 16 billion rupiah for hijabization of a police officer, right? So this is approved by the House, and it was actually by his government, SBY's government, right? So what is SBY's take in all of this? We have to be fair. There are two contradictory moves. On the one hand, there is ratification of UN Convention during his time, so progressive kind of legislation. On the other hand, the growing conservatism in society, right? So what is SBY's position in this? And other people has answered, and this is an interview of Uni. SBY reacted only in relation to administrative approaches. Sometimes he reacts positively, but he wants this issue to be dealt with by his departments, right? And this is what is called hiding behind procedural democracy. His government was known to be, you know, successful in democratic transition, and he has claimed that this is his. And that's why it is very easy for him, well, I'm following democratic procedure. It is not my jurisdiction, I cannot say anything, you know? So at the case of Jasmine Church, I think Sydney will talk about it, so I'll skip. And when he relegated to his minister or departments, we know the coalition politics. Some of his ministers are very conservative, and they are responsible for all this conservative legislation. And also SBY has a role in strengthening MUI, the Majelis Ulama Council, for this certification of halal product, etc., etc. What about migrant women? This is what I called one. So one is his tendency to hide behind procedural democracy. Second is half-hearted reform, like Sydney has once said, very reactive. So he would support something, and then when there is a reaction, he would reform it, and then, you know, all this half-hearted reform. In, for example, there is a revision of law number 39 on migrant worker with an intention to get more revenue out of the working women. So making it easier for them to go. And then there is you know, they are not, the agents who are responsible for the migrant women are not supposed to have training. They're okay, the government will be easy on them. Of course, this caused a lot of problem. And later on, it was, you know, there are a lot of women really protest against it, and he refuted again. Next, you know, he signed an MOU with Malaysia, saying that Malaysian master could keep the passport of Indonesian women. And then there are a lot of protests, and then he changed it, right? And another example of how reactive his policy is when there is a case of migrant women, Indonesian migrant women, who is going to be beheaded in Arab. He said, well, the solution is to give each of them a cellular phone. You know, as if they don't have one or two cellular phone already, right? And this really got the women activists very angry. What kind of policy is this? It's not increasing legal protection, a legal mechanism, country by country, you know, G to G kind of a protection, but giving cell phone, right? This is an example of how well, finally, in the end, he changed and he ratified the Migrant Workers' Convention. Well, to be fair with SBY, we have to talk about these gains, right? The gains, although Komnas Perempuan is not his making, it was President Habibie after the May 1998 kind of a May riot, who he actually founded this body because of the pressure of women at that time and a democratic movement. The Komnas Perempuan actually succeeded in actually seeing a lot of production of conducive policies. You know, it's lobbying, lobby strongly with the women activists. And of course, SBY did appoint good minister. One of it is Minister of Health, who succeeded in actually putting these abortion rights for victims of rape. It's very successful, and she was very staunch in doing this. So this is thanks to SBY. But I think throughout this whole day, we are talking about whether we are thanks to or in spite of, right? So I think my position is in spite of, right? So in spite of SBY, the Fibrom civil society movement, maybe because thanks to his inaction, right, in a way, so that we have to do something because he didn't do anything, right? So there's politicization of the general population and things that I think Ibu Dewi Fortuna Anwar mentioned, right? But there is, I will end this with the looming specter of religious violence and the need for a transformation in political culture. And I will summarize SBY's policy by again going back to Linda's poem. Number one is about inaction in terms of ensuring religious tolerance, which is very crucial in women's well-being. And if you want to promote or empower women, there should be an atmosphere of democratic and also pluralist atmosphere, environment. And second, of course, his ability to coordinate and control his ministers and cabinets, etc. And third is, of course, somebody who will not only be narcissistic, as you have already heard this morning, self-pity and, curhat, always complain about why he is a victim of so many, criticism, but somebody who knows priority, what to do. And maybe this is the homework for the next president, but that is a second chapter that I couldn't answer. Thank you.
Well, the organisers have made my task a lot easier today by reducing the number of speakers this afternoon. So I think that brings us now to the session on social policy. Thank you very much, Ibu Melani, for that. And we'll do questions at the end after the next session from Faisal Basri, who is very well known to all of you, I'm sure, as the founder of the National Mandate Party and leader of the National Movement and a leader of many NGOs and social active organisations, a very well-known lecturer in the Faculty of Economics at UI, and it's a very great pleasure to welcome him to this forum this afternoon. Faisal, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. It's last session should be very hard. I'd like to cut several parts of our papers after introductory part. We describe policy context, challenges and opportunities, and then followed by SBY achievement in three fields. First one, education. Secondly, household and community empowerment. I will skip these sections. And health sector or healthcare indicators. And then we describe also the missing elements during SBY era dealing with social policies and closing remarks. President SBY has spoken on many occasions that he is committed to improving social welfare for Indonesia citizens. His speech, like a lecture, as usual, leaving poverty behind, promoting sustainable growth with equity through global partnership. Very sophisticated theme. And he used a slogan revealed in 2005, pro-growth, pro-poor, and pro-job, which later in 2007, he also added pro-environment. So this is rhetorics and reality. pro-growth, you see, rate of growth in the last 3 years has been declining significantly from more than 6% to close to 5% only, and maybe this year will be less than 5%. Pro-poor, number of poor people, poverty line, the last figure this year, early this year, is 11.3%, exactly same with the level of 1996. That's the achievement of Pak SBY in alleviating poverty. And the main target of RPJM is this is his promise. Maybe this is a technocratic planning, which is lower than the promise SBY, the promise of SBY in election period, in campaign period. In campaign period, Pak SBY stated that his target of growth is 7%, but reduced to 6.3 to 6.8% by Bappenas. And the reality, the average rate of growth in the second period of Pak SBY is less than 6%, to be exact 5.98%. And RPJM medium-term plan stated also growth of 7% before 2014. Let's say before 2014 is 2013. The rate of growth is only 5.78%. On poverty rate, the LPJM stated 8 to 10% at the end of this year. For the time being, in March, poverty rate 11.25%. It is difficult to achieve the targets of RPJM, of course. The only main indicators you can achieve is open employment. The target is 5 to 6%, and early this year only 5.7%, but with very low quality of job creation. And sometimes, open employment rate and poverty rate, especially open unemployment, feel more sharply. Despite slowing GDP growth, is quite strange, of course. The quality of job creation is still very poorly. You can see when the rate of growth is declining, open employment feel more sharply. It's quite strange, of course. And it should be noted that almost half of the workers are in informal sector. That's why we have to be careful to deal with labor market data. And it seems that everything is okay. Workers in agriculture is declining, and in manufacturing sector increase a little bit to 13%, but most of them is going to informal sector, low-end services. Low-end services wage rate is better than in agriculture sector, because the concern on agriculture is very, very little under SBY era. It's only slogans. And let's see the political economy of the budget dealing with social policy. These figures is little bit different or much different compared to, let's say, what the World Bank, ADB use to show the commitment on social spending or social protections. The definition fully based on the coverage in our budget, so defined by the government. So sometimes, let's say for example, health expenditure in our budget stated by the government is only 0.20% health expenditure. Allocation of budget based on function. But if we look at to the World Bank data, the public health spending in Indonesia is around 1.3%, added 1.4% from out of the pocket. The total health spending to GDP is 2.7%, but according to government definition, is only 0.20%. Let me use the government definition to make it consistent and comparable with other items. You see here, education, spending on education is only 1.26% of GDP. Yeah, the highest one is 1.41% only. Yeah, similar to economy. See, ranging from 0.8 to 1.3%. For social protection, you can see here, very consistently low, 0.0 something percent, but suddenly increased very sharply to 0.19% last year. But if you look at to the latest data, budget 2014 and proposed budget 2015, the allocation for social protection decreased very sharply back to previous level, close to previous level, only 8 trillion compared to 17 trillion last year. So this is only 2013 is special case, cannot be viewed as increased commitment of SBY. I don't know exactly what was happening at that time, why social protection was increasing very sharply. And sadly speaking, if you compare to energy subsidy, (3.4%) last year, 3.4, number 2 after public service, yeah, and much bigger compared to for economy, health, social protection, and education. So in our paper, we stated the problem of very low allocation for social welfare program, especially to protect the poor and the vulnerable groups, is very limited. So there is no not enough effort I think it is against the constitution. Yeah, someone should bring the case to constitutional court. Yeah, it's against humanity. Allocate 100 trillions rupiah, for nothing, and only less than 10 trillion rupiah to protect vulnerable and poor people. It's very sad. So that should be mental revolution to change drastically the political economy of the state budget in Indonesia. I just use ADB data, the ranks amongst 30 countries in Asia Pacific. Indonesia is number 27. Much worse compared to our brother, Timor-Leste, number 11. He knows they know very well how to protect the vulnerables. They use natural resources, oil, to be given to next generation by having petroleum funds low. But we don't have anything. We use the right of next generation to funding our consumption of oil. We borrow for that at the cost of next generation. As you can compare, you see, spending, social protections expenditure as percentage of GDP is quite high in this because the coverage is different compared to our government definition in the budget. But the pattern is almost same. The result of education, because we heavily rely on unmeasurable targets. Our goals of education is to build the character of the students, Pancasila religious one, without any measurable targets. The government never use output as a target. Just, our constitution also use input. Output of education is score of math, for example, science and reading. And output needs input. Input it's budget, teacher, and so on and so forth. But our country start with budget first. 20% of the total budget. There is no other country in the world except Taiwan use this approach. So we start with inputs. We never set the target and never use benchmark by using our peers. Let's say, for example, ASEAN or ASEAN countries. Never. So this is the result of the latest PISA survey. We are number 2 from the bottom. Yeah. The rest is elaborations of every indicators. This is mathematics. We are facing the deceleration path. As you can see, the coefficient by using quadratic term is negative, yeah, negative 0.7. Only Indonesia, Qatar, and Jordan have negative coefficient, meaning decelerating process in mathematics score. Same as reading performance, also negative, with again Jordan, Serbia, and Montenegro. Yeah, strange country, at least for Indonesian. And this is science. You can see the score difference from one period to other, all minus. Yeah? 2012 compared to 2006, 2012 compared to 2009, yeah, SBY era, all negatives. And this is the absolute number from 393 to 383, and the latest one 382. Missing elements. Why the performance under SBY era on social policies are quite unsatisfactory? We found at least four factors. The evidence from the tenure period of SBY suggests that the correlation between economic growth and social welfare is not a linear one. Yeah. Secondly, contrary to Amartya Sen, SBY views on social development is second only to economic growth. It is very obvious, yeah, from RPJM, Medium-Term Development Plan, and MP3EI, the crazy output of SBY, Jembatan Selat Sunda is there. Yeah. Focus more on lengthening the bureaucracy for poverty alleviation with no clear target. As I said before, no clear target on healthcare and education. MP3KI, this is acceleration planning to eradicate poverty, was issued later after having criticism from Professor Amir Salim. Why only economic development, not environment, not attainment of poverty? Oh, I will do that later, said Hatta Rajasa. The mismatch of President SBY's desire to improve welfare and affiliate poverty with the budgeting. Now the budgeting always or almost occupied by fuel subsidy, of course. So there is no room because of doesn't want to touch fuel subsidy, and lack of long-term vision. Just as Ibu Melani said, just kind of pencitraan, something like that. This is achievement in health. Performance of Indonesia under SBY's indicators of health were below the world and East Asia's average. Low health expenditure and inefficiency have created underperformance on supply side of healthcare service. Deterioration of service after implementation of universal healthcare because of lack of supply. So the service is deteriorating. Rate of growth in quadratic function are different between SBY era and non-SBY era for immunizations of DPT and measles. There is acceleration in both immunizations at SBY era, but accelerations are lower than acceleration in non-SBY era. In SBY era, both accelerations are about 50% lower compared to non-SBY era. So, but using a simple econometric simulation. Health expenditure per capita on health expenditure per capita, no significant differences between SBY era and non-SBY era. So SBY era is like, you know, the bird flying and we don't know the final destination. So I think this is the, this is already, okay, this is the last one. The challenge of using a paradigm of subsidy in social welfare and his desire to align this with poverty alleviation means the long-term strategy for freeing people from poverty as stated by Amartya Sen and strengthen the competitiveness of Indonesian economy. Secondly, the challenge of putting down coherent, this is the for our new government, planning on social welfare policies and implementing it across ministries and government agencies. Lack of coordination, no benchmarking, no clear targets. That's what we found under 10 years of SBY. And lastly, the challenge of managing social welfare policy within the framework of decentralization. So I think that's all from us. Thank you very much.
Well, I think we can conclude from that there's a very big agenda there for the Jokowi administration ahead of us. So now I'd like to invite some questions or comments for Ibu Melani or for Pak Faisal. So please, yes, there, one, and there at the back, Joe. We'll take those two first. Adam, can you get the, maybe just get the microphone to you first. So makes it easier.
My name is Safrina. I'm a visiting researcher in ANU. My question is for Ibu Melani. If you may, could you have an assessment of the Minister for Empowerment of Women during the SBY era, or should it be called disempowerment? Thank you.
Okay. And we'll take the other one at the back there.
Thank you. My name is Joanne Sharp. I work for the Department of Foreign Affairs. My question is for Pak Faisal. We've heard a number of speakers today talk about Jokowi's apparent commitment and interest in reducing the fuel subsidy to give him the fiscal space we know he needs to implement many of his reforms. You've talked about social security and social protection in this talk, but equally we know that Jokowi has an agenda around infrastructure and health and other things. Do you have a sense, as assuming we do start to see that fiscal space free up a bit, where do you think that money will be allocated and in what sort of order, if such a thing can be predicted?
Okay, thanks. We'll take those two first. Ibu Melani.
Thank you for the question. I would like to repeat some of what I have already mentioned. Well, under President SBY's presidency, actually there is a lot of, a major ratification of UN convention took place. So this is, I think, one of the most progressive achievement of SBY, ensuring that all, migrant women and all the protection against violence against women, all this ratification of UN convention, it's under his presidency. So that is one achievement. Another is, of course, the number of ministers that he appointed. Well, although we might say, is it a symbolic one or not, like the Minister of Women's and Child Empowerment, according to many NGOs, this is just a symbolic kind of position because this ministry is doesn't. The government give a budget and then the ministry has to do it. There is no interministerial effort in really transforming structural position of women. Another, if you want to call achievement, is of course we have to acknowledge that Democratic Party is the highest in appointing women representation. Like in the 2009, 2014, 2004, 2009, it's the highest, 30 something, above 30. I have to look at my numbers. It's quite the highest amongst other, even higher than PTIP. In the recent legislative election, it drops to 23 something, but still the highest, right? So they are promoting a lot of women, but what about the whole structure? I mean, the political transformation in party politics, and you know, this has not been done. So the basic has not been done. There's efforts in increasing the numbers. So, well, that's what I can say. You know, so not very basic structural transformation. Thank you.
Faisal, on the fiscal space.
Yeah, if finally Pak SBY doesn't want to increase the price of subsidized fuel, very unfortunate, Pak Jokowi should increase by 3,000 at least, yeah? Hopefully not more than 3,000 next November. So maybe 2 or 3 weeks after being officially as a president. So very sad situations. And from saving of the budget, Pak Jokowi can reallocate approximately 150 trillion rupiah, and he committed to increase allocation quite significantly to agriculture sector, to the farmers and to fishermen, tani dan nelayan, because 2/3 of the poor people are in agriculture sector in rural area. So if he would like to eradicate poverty in significant way, why don't he allocate more to build and rehabilitate irrigation and so on and so forth. Some of the money will be allocated to strengthen social protection by empowering the poor people by introducing Kartu Sehat and Kartu Pintar. Yeah, quite successful in Jakarta, and he will reproduce these models, of course, by improving the single identity number, yeah, e-KTP and e-ID card, something like that, should strengthening the system. The last one need more money to build harbor, to rehabilitate the old one, to modernize one. Some can be get from private sector, is very welcome for private-public partnership models, but for some ports should be financed by the government, such as in Sorong, you know, Sorong, South Sumatra, Aceh, and other Kalimantan Barat, West Kalimantan, should be financed at least more than half by the government. So if he would like to realize toll out, you know, not a toll road over the sea as offered by Prabowo. This is toll road using. I'm more comfortable with Nusantara Pendelem, such as Asia Pendelem, by integrating thousands of islands by using appropriate shape or appropriate port. So that's the commitment, strong commitment. I think that's not political gimmick. That's not like by SBY. Hopefully, and he will pay the cost, very high cost, but he should pay that one. That's why he need some more support from new political parties. Hopefully, the immediate maybe from P3 and Partai Demokrat. Thank you.
Thank you. We can probably take one more round of questions. Thank you. Ross there, perhaps, and you there? Yes, with the long blonde hair. Maybe we'll just take you first, and then Ross.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. No, I actually said but maybe you third. I'll just take the lady at the back there. I marked her out first. Just wait, the microphone will get to you in a moment. Thank you.
Thank you. My question, of course, is for Ibu Melani. I'm Gabrielle Legrand. I'm in the Country Women's Association. We are one of the most powerful lobby groups in Australia. I'm also previously from the Liberal Party Women's Federal Election Committee. And my question to you is, are there any effective women's lobby groups in Indonesia? If not, would it be possible to create something like that? And also, in your experience or from what you see in the media, are female politicians and elites being undermined by sexist ideas about how they should dress? For example, people talking about a politician, a lady's, what she wears rather than what her policies are. And do they suffer an unfair advantage to their male counterparts?
Thank you. Yes, madam, you had the microphone just then, so I'll ask you and then Ross. Yeah. The batteries are running out at the end of the day.
Ibu, I want to ask you some clarification and maybe explanation. In your presentation, you didn't mention about the gender equality draft bill that has been underway for a while, and then also you didn't mention about the task force team that SBY wanted to develop regarding violence and sexual harassment because of the sexual harassment case at the Jakarta International School. And also, I want your opinion about the new PP on health, is the regulation on health that allows single women to access reproductive health services, as well as the regulation that wants reproductive health education included in the school curricula. So that's my 3 points. Thank you.
Thank you. Ross. This will be the final question. Thanks, Ross.
Thank you. Ross McLeod from the Indonesia Project. My question is for Faisal. You mentioned in your presentation that maybe the energy subsidy is unconstitutional, and you said that maybe somebody should mount a challenge about that, a challenge to the energy subsidy in the Constitutional Court. My problem is that you were smiling a lot when you said that, and I wasn't sure if you were joking or if you were serious. So, in my own opinion, that energy subsidy is unconstitutional, and there would be a good chance of challenging it in the Constitutional Court. So, were you joking? If not, why do you believe it's unconstitutional?
Thank you very much. Well, we're close to time, so we'll just have some short responses to those very good sets of questions. Ibu, Melani.
Okay, very short answer. Yes, there's been a lobby in the parliament for women candidates. I forgot the name of the lobby. It's for empowering women. You remember the name? It's there's a lobby. So they actually gather together, women representative, and they discuss things together, how to deal with issues such as what you mentioned, you know, the exposure, you know, usually women who are more pretty and, you know, you're the one that are, you know, considered to be a spotlight for the media, but not for their achievement, but for their beauties, etc., etc. So these have been, there has been a support. But of course there is a backlash when very active, empowered, and politically savvy women are not re-elected because of the political system. And yes, gender, there are a lot of, I think I really support this progressive move in gender legislation, which is shown also that for example, the health regulation that allows single women to access this kind of regulation is productive and is progressive. But do not forget that in spite of that, there is more conservative legislation and actually there is the Ministry of Home Affairs managed to reconsider 1,800 perda or local legislation all over Indonesia, but not a single perda that relates to women discrimination is being actually revoked or considered. So this shows that productive or progressive legislation is not, you know, is not winning against this very conservative, moralistic Islamic legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Faisal.
If I'm not mistaken, 3 years ago we brought the case to the district court against president, vice presidents, speaker of parliament, DPR, and 8 ministers. 8 ministers, so 11 if I'm mistaken, to Jakarta Pusat Court, and Jakarta Pusat Court decided that these parties failed to deliver their obligations of SJSN, National Social Security System, because Pak SBY delay, and I don't know the final result, because at that time Minister of Law appealed to a higher court, and I don't know the consequence of this. And I think we can exercise the other case, because fuel subsidy make government cannot function to protect the vulnerable, the majority of the people in facing more turbulent externally and internally. So I think we can use Pancasila even, and Undang-Undang Dasar 45 is the starting point, the malfunction of the government because of subsidi BBM by using my figures. Yeah, thank you.
Well, that's a very stirring way to finish. So I'd like to ask you to put your hands together for Melani and Faisal.